The fawn's leg snapped back into place under Jack's hands, but the blanket I'd brought to calm it was still folded in my grip. I hadn't moved. Above us, the crowd on the overpass cheered, but Mr. Harrison's phone was aimed not at the fawn but at me, and I knew he'd been filming the whole time. And that's when the fawn made a sound I'd never heard a deer make, a low human whimper, and I got it. The blanket wasn't for the animal, it was for what I'd failed to see. 3 nights now I've been lying here at 3 a.m. with the ceiling fan clicking and my husband breathing beside me, and my mind keeps going back to the same place. The moment Jack reached down into that ravine. The way the fawn's leg was bent under the guardrail. And the crowd, maybe 40 people lined up on the overpass, phones out, watching. And there was Mr. Harrison. Standing right at the front. I was in the dispatch office when the call came in. 7:14 p.m., a driver on the Cross Bronx spotted a fawn hit by a car, still alive, trapped against the guardrail on the south side embankment. I sent Jack and William in truck 4. Standard protocol. Deer rescue, highway shoulder, probable leg fracture, use the blanket to cover the eyes, dark and calm and safe, that's what the blanket does. It blocks the light, blocks the fear, blocks the world so the animal can stop fighting long enough for us to help. I've said those words 100 times. Dark and calm and safe. I've trained new volunteers on that blanket. How you drape it over the crate first so the animal doesn't see the cage. How you hold it steady when you open the door. How the animal will press its head into the fabric if you do it right, because something in them knows, darkness means hiding, and hiding means surviving. But that night, when I said, use the blanket, I was thinking about something else. The real mistake here is that I've been telling myself I didn't know. That's what I keep circling back to at 3 a.m. That I didn't know Mr. Harrison would be there, that I didn't know the fawn had a collar, that I didn't know what I was choosing when I sent them out. But I did know. I knew he'd been following our calls. I knew he'd been showing up at rescues unannounced. I knew he was evaluating us. And I didn't say anything to Jack or William. I just sent them out like it was any other call. Jack was the one who went down the embankment. William stayed on the shoulder to manage traffic and crowd control. That's how they work, Jack does the hands-on, William handles the perimeter. They've been a team for 4 years. Jack is 37, former EMT, left after his second kid was born because he couldn't handle the overnight shifts. Now he volunteers 3 nights a week and every other Saturday. His pager went off at dinner that night. His wife didn't say anything. She just handed him his jacket. William is 52, retired MTA, does this full-time now. His kids are grown. He told me once that he started volunteering because he needed something to do on weekends after his divorce, and now he's here more than anyone except me. He's the one who calls me at 2 a.m. to check the schedule. At that point, he's the one who remembers everyone's birthday. When they got to the scene, Jack told me later, the crowd was already forming. Cars pulled over. People getting out. Someone was live streaming. The fawn was about 20 feet down the embankment, pressed against the guardrail post, back leg twisted underneath. Still alive. Eyes open. Not thrashing, that's how you know they're in shock. They stopped fighting. Jack said he looked up and saw all those phones pointed at him and thought, don't mess this up. He went down slow. Talking the whole time. That's his thing, he talks to them. Not in a baby voice, not in a performative way. Just low and steady, like he's telling them what's happening. I'm coming down the hill now. I'm going to reach for your leg. You're going to feel my hand and you're going to want to run, but I need you to stay still. Just for a little while. Here's the thing, he said. The fawn let him touch its leg. He said it didn't fight. That's when he saw the collar. He told me later he almost stopped. Almost called up to William. But there were 40 people watching and Mr. Harrison was standing at the front of the crowd with his arms crossed, and Jack didn't want to explain. He didn't want to say, this animal has a collar, this animal belongs to someone, this animal might not be wild at all. He just wanted to get it up the hill and into the crate and deal with it later. So he kept going. He wrapped the fawn in the blanket, the one I haven't washed, and carried it up the embankment one-handed while keeping pressure on the leg. 40 people watched him do it. Someone clapped. Someone else started filming from a different angle. Jack said he could hear the applause when he reached the top. He put the fawn in the crate and closed the door. Mr. Harrison walked over and shook his hand. What strikes me at this point is how easy it's to do the wrong thing for the right reason. Jack didn't stop because he was scared of what would happen if he paused. He was scared of looking incompetent in front of the donor who might save our organization. He was scared of the crowd turning on us. He then was scared of the questions. And I get that. I get it completely because I'm the one who sent him out without saying anything about Mr. Harrison being there. The collar was dark brown leather, worn smooth on the inside edge. Jack noticed it when he got close enough to wrap the blanket. He said it had a small silver tag, but he didn't read it. Didn't want to read it. Because reading it would mean knowing, and knowing would mean deciding, and deciding would mean doing something about it. We're good at that in this line of work. Not looking at the thing that would change everything. I drove to the rescue station at 10 p.m. that night. I told my husband I forgot to log a call. He didn't ask questions. He knows this language, the half-truths, the incomplete explanations, the way I leave without saying when I'll be back. That's what this life is. A series of unfinished sentences. The station is in an old garage on Jerome Avenue, between a bodega and a tire shop. The sign out front says Wildlife Rescue of New York in electric yellow-green letters against alarm red. The colors clash on purpose. You're supposed to see it. You're supposed to stop. Inside it smells like hay and bleach and the specific cold of concrete floors that never fully warm up. The crates are stacked against the far wall. The blankets are folded on the shelf. Have you ever held a blanket that felt like a secret, knowing what it was covering but refusing to say it out loud? Our blankets, the ones we use for transport, for coverage, for calming. They're all the same. Heavy cotton, army surplus, washed so many times they feel soft even when they're dry. I bought 30 of them 6 years ago with money from my own savings because we didn't have a budget for supplies. We still don't have a budget for supplies. Truck 4 was parked in the bay. The crate was still in the back. I opened the door and pulled out the blanket. It smelled like the fawn. Like dirt and fur and something sour, stress sweat. I held it for a minute. Then I folded it and put it back on the shelf with the others. And as I slid the blanket onto the shelf, I could still feel the shape of the fawn's collar pressed into the fabric, a collar I'd seen before, on a deer I'd sworn to protect. I didn't wash it. Jack called me at 11:30 that night. He said the fawn was at the vet. Stable. The leg was fractured but clean, and they'd splint it. He said it would recover. Then he said, it had a collar, Sarah. I said I knew. You knew. Not before you went down. But I figured. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, why didn't you tell me Harrison was there? I didn't have an answer. I still don't have an answer. I mean, I've answers, I just don't have the right one. I could say I didn't want to distract him. I could say I thought he'd handle it fine. I could say I was hoping Mr. Harrison wouldn't show up. But those are all half-truths, and Jack deserves better than half-truths. The real answer is that I've been afraid of Mr. Harrison since the first time he came to the station. He walked in wearing a suit that cost more than our annual operating budget and said he'd been following our work. He said he wanted to help. At that point, he said he could write a check that would cover the new truck we needed, the expansion we'd been planning, the full-time salaries we'd never been able to afford. And then he said, but I want to know where my money is going. I want to know it's going to the right animals. The right animals. That's what he said. Not the raccoons with distemper, not the possums with mange, not the pigeons with broken wings. The right animals. The ones people stop their cars for. The ones that make the news. The ones that get the donations. James, our director, the veteran who's been doing this for 30 years, he shook Mr. Harrison's hand and said he understood. He said they'd work something out. He said it with a smile. I've known James for 12 years. I know every version of that smile. The one he uses with the public. The one he uses with donors. The one he uses when he's about to do something he doesn't want to do because there's no other choice. That night, after Jack's call, I sat in the station for an hour. I looked at the blanket on the shelf. I looked at the dispatch log. I looked at the budget spreadsheet pinned to the wall, the one with the red numbers that haven't changed in 3 years. Then I drove home and didn't sleep. Have you ever had a moment where you realize you've been protecting something that didn't deserve protecting? Not a person. A version of yourself. The version that believes you're doing everything right. The version that believes good intentions are enough. I looked at that blanket and I knew it needed to be washed. I knew the collar needed to be traced. I knew Mr. Harrison's check would come with a cost no one was naming. And I did none of it. I folded the blanket and put it back on the shelf. The next day, Jack came to the station before his shift. He sat in the chair across from my desk and didn't say anything for a full minute. Then he pulled the collar out of his jacket pocket. I went back to the vet this morning, he said. They took it off when they sedated her. I asked if I could keep it. He put it on my desk. Small silver tag. I picked it up and read the inscription. Asterisk Luna. If found, call 555-0199 asterisk. A pet. Someone's pet deer. Someone had raised this animal, named it, put a collar on it, and either it escaped or they let it go. And now it was in our care with a broken leg, and somewhere in this city there was a person who was looking for it. Did you call the number? I asked. No. Why not? Because if I call, he said, then I have to tell them what happened. I mean, and if I tell them, then they're going to want her back. And if they want her back, then she's going back to whatever situation made her get hit by a car in the first place. And if she goes back, she's going to die. Not because of the leg. Because she doesn't know how to be wild. He was right. That's the worst part. He was completely right. A deer raised by humans can't survive in the wild. Was it right for her to send the rescue team, knowing the fawn might have been raised by humans and that Mr. Harrison would be waiting? It doesn't know what to eat, doesn't know how to avoid predators, doesn't know to stay away from roads. If we released her, she'd be dead in weeks. If we sent her back to whoever owned her, she'd be in the same situation that got her hit. If we kept her, well, we don't have a facility for captive deer. We'd have to find a sanctuary. We'd have to explain the collar. We'd have to explain why we didn't call the number. I put the collar in my drawer and said I'd handle it. I haven't handled it. The collar is still in my drawer, and I haven't told anyone why I knew Mr. Harrison would be on that overpass. So I can't stop thinking about it at 3 a.m. The blanket is still on the shelf. The collar is still in my drawer. The fawn, Luna, is still at the vet, recovering, and no one has called 555-0199. James is meeting with Mr. Harrison next week to finalize the donation. And I keep going over every decision I made that night, every decision I didn't make, and I keep arriving at the same place. I knew Mr. Harrison would be at that overpass. I knew Jack would feel the pressure. I knew the crowd would change the rescue. I knew the collar was there. I knew all of it. And I sent them anyway. Not because I had to. Because I wanted to see what would happen. I wanted to see if Jack could perform under pressure. I wanted to see if Mr. Harrison would be impressed. I wanted to see if we could pull it off, the perfect rescue, the crowd-pleasing rescue, the one that gets the donation and saves the organization. I used that fawn. I used Jack. I used the blanket. I told myself it was for the greater good, but that's just a nicer word for the same calculation. This afternoon, Jack came to the station to check the schedule for next week. He stood at the door and didn't come in. I keep thinking about the blanket, he said. Me too. I didn't wash it either. I know. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, "Are we going to call the number?" I don't know. James wants to accept Harrison's money. I know. He's going to tell us to stop taking raccoon calls. I know. Sarah, are we going to be okay? I didn't answer. Because the answer is yes, of course we're going to be okay. We're going to keep taking calls. We're going to keep saving animals. We're going to keep doing this until we can't anymore. And the answer is no, we're not going to be okay, because we're about to become the kind of organization that chooses which animals to save based on which ones will make people feel good. And I'm going to let it happen. Not because I want to. Because I'm tired of fighting for money. Because I'm tired of watching good people burn out. Because I'm tired of being the one who says no when saying no means another year of broke equipment and unpaid volunteers. So I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to hate myself for it. And I'm going to keep doing it anyway. That's what this work does to you. It teaches you to trade one version of right for another. It teaches you to make peace with the cost. The pager went off at 7:14 tonight. Same time as the fawn call. 3 days exactly. I looked at the dispatch. A raccoon stuck in a storm drain on Webster Avenue. Probably a yearling. Probably trapped by the flooding from yesterday's rain. I sent Jack and William in truck 4. Jack looked at me before he left. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. After they pulled out, I opened my drawer and looked at the collar. Asterisk Luna. If found, call 555-0199 asterisk. I closed the drawer. I'll call tomorrow. Or I won't. I haven't decided yet. That's the thing about this work, there's always another call. There's always another animal. There's always another chance to do the right thing tomorrow. The blanket is still on the shelf. I still haven't washed it. I don't know if I ever will. Not because I'm holding on to something. Because washing it means this is over, and it's not over. It's never over. There's just the next call. The next rescue. The next moment where you decide who you are. Right now, at 3 a.m., with the ceiling fan clicking and my husband breathing beside me, I don't know who that is anymore. The pager is on my nightstand. It's quiet, but it won't stay quiet forever. It never does. And I'll go. I always go. The blanket in truck 4, would you have washed it, or kept it dirty like a secret? If this story left you sitting in the dark with your own unanswered questions, that's the like button. For anyone who's ever chosen silence when they should have spoken, this is your channel.